Well, for the second Sunday in ordinary time in this new year, using only the gospel, and that is John 2 1 to 11. And it deals with the wedding feast at Cana in Galilee. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the humanity and divinity of Jesus Christ. Well, as an introduction, the church tried to figure out the humanity and divinity of Jesus for almost 300 years. And one of the biggest heresies in the early church was the Arian heresy. And we pegged a priest, Arius, as a perpetrator of this heresy. And Arius denied that Jesus was God, that Jesus was divine. And he believed that Jesus was the highest human person that ever existed, or the human being that ever existed, and was totally human, but the best. Where the church comes finally in the Council of Nicaea and says that Arian is incorrect, that Jesus is totally human and totally God. Well, I grew up, and probably most of you all grew up, that Jesus was primarily divine and secondarily human. For example, today, he takes 60 water containers and he changes that water into wine. And not only good wine, but the best of wine. A few weeks back, we had Jesus who fed 5,000 men, not counting women and children, with only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. It takes more than a human to do that. And then finally, we all make fun of and jokes and so forth. Who do you think you are? You think you can walk on water? Jesus caught up with his apostles or his disciples on the lake one evening or in the middle of the night, walking on water. Human beings don't walk on water. Well, he was God. He was divine. He was the second person of the Blessed Trinity sent by his Father. But he was totally human too. Here in this setting and the wedding feast, he and Mary were very human and very special humans. Well, Mary, she was very compassionate and she felt sorry for this couple on their wedding ceremony or celebration. They ran out of wine. And so Mary, in her compassion, she says, one of these mother statements that just put it out there to the son or the daughter and so forth. One of these or they have no wine. And to Jesus, well, do something about it. They have no wine. And Jesus, says, well, what's that got to do with me? My hour has not yet come. And then Mary, in her loaded statements, tells the people who are running the reception, do whatever he tells you. And in and through the human compassion and concern and for his mother and all of that, Jesus takes and changes 120 gallons to 180 gallons of water into wine because of his great humanity and divinity. Well, humanity. Jesus was totally human. Human, compassionate, sympathetic, loving, open to people. How many times do you read in the New Testament, he had compassion on the crowd? He felt for the crowd. He was terribly human, fully human. Well, with all those characteristics of humanity, compassion and sympathy and love, I think we're not to just try to be like God, perfect, as Jesus told a few people, be perfect as my Heavenly Father is perfect, but be compassionate, loving, understanding, warm. Those compassion, made up of two words, is a Latin combination of that you are able to suffer with the other person. Compassionate. And the other word that we use too is a Greek word, or two Greek words, and it has to do with sympathy. That you are able to understand with emotion where that other person is. You're able to emote with that other person. You're sympathetic. All of these words have to do with humanity as much as divinity. The perfect is love, forgiveness, always, totally, like God. But the human are some of those same aspects: compassion, love, forgiveness with the other person. I don't know about you, but I grew up with when the pendulum swings on one side to the other. I grew up way over here where it was Jesus, the divine one. And we even superimposed that divine one on Jesus when he was a little 12 years old in the temple. When he was dying, he knew everything. He told them more than they knew. Huh? Or was he a human being where he had to work through stages of development of humanness, of adolescence and early manhood, and suffering and dying, and to die like a human being, to suffer like a human being? I don't know about you folks, but I get as much out of how perfectly human Jesus was as my understanding how perfectly divinity he was. How do you look at Jesus? Or even more important, do you try to imitate Jesus because he was so human and so good? Or you try to imitate God because God is so perfect and so good? History seems to keep on going sort of back and forth, stressing the humanity and the divinity of God. Where do you fall in between that? What moves you to be a better person? Think about it. Have a good day.